Hello and welcome to another edition of Shoot the Defence on FNX, brought to you by My Sportswear and Save Association. I'm your host, Stel, and I'm joined by my co-host, Yannick. How you doing?
Not bad, sure.
Yeah, very good, mate. Great to have you back.
Thank you very much.
It's been a whole week since we last seen each other face to face.
Have you missed me?
Like a hole in the head.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, excellent.
Appreciate
it. Now, our guest this evening is a Millwall legend. He doesn't even need an introduction. It's Steve Morison. Great to have you on the show, Steve. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. You all right?
Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. It's great to have you on the show.
No problem. No problem. Look forward to it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Steve, before we actually talk about the show, talk about that goal at Wembley, mate, because I know we've got a lot of Millwall fans that will be tuning in for this one.
Yeah, well, obviously it sunk in. Obviously, a couple of weeks after the goal went in, but no, it was highlight of my career, a massive moment for the football club, and yeah, I've said it before. I said if you could write the script of how you'd want it to go, that's how you'd want it to go, isn't it? So yeah, it was perfect for me in the end, and yeah, we all got to where we wanted to get, and yeah, it was a really good day.
And how are you finding your first season back in the Championship?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We've been doing really well. We've not got the results our performances have deserved, but we've definitely stepped it up a level. And as a squad, we're in a really healthy position at the minute. We've got a couple of tough away games coming up, Cardiff and Sheffield Wednesday. But no, our home form's been really, really good, and I think we're holding our own very, very well.
Brilliant. Well, you know, there's a cliche where they say that the Championship is a very unforgiving league, which obviously it is, and it's a strain on a lot of players. Would you agree with that, or is it actually worse than what people make it out to be?
No, it's for me. I've had the luxury of playing at all levels, and without a doubt, it's the hardest one. It's a real mixture. Obviously, you're playing the Premier League. You're playing top quality people week in, week out, and you have to try and find another way to beat them. And sometimes you just outwork them. Sometimes you get a bit of luck. Sometimes you're generally better than the players you're playing against. But 50% of the teams are just far and away better than you. Technically, their squads are better. They're better players. So it's kind of it's a real tough mix, but it's not as physically demanding as the Championship. I remember playing in the Premier League with Norwich, and it was week to week. So you played on a Saturday, you had a whole week to recover. Then you played Saturday again. So it was very easy on the body. The Championship is Saturday, Tuesday. It has got a mixture of players that can play in the Premier League, players that are in that top spectrum of the Championship, and you've got players at the bottom. So you are coming up against all walks in the Championship, and it is physically and mentally the most demanding league that I've ever played in, and it's really, really tough. And you can see that's why the clubs that come down don't often go straight back up.
There aren't any kind of easy games in the Championship, are there, Steve?
No, you look at the games you just from the start of the season, Forest away, and then you play Norwich at home, Leeds at home, then you're playing Birmingham at home Saturday, and you've got Cardiff away, now you've got Sheffield Wednesday away, and then you look at the game on Saturday after, we've got Burton at home. The neutral will say, oh, that's an easy fixture for Millwall. Well, Burton have been in the league for 2 years. They romped League One. We missed out on the playoffs the year they went up. They stayed up last year. They've got some good results this year. It is generally the league that anyone can beat anyone on their day.
I agree.
Fantastic. Well, great stuff. Thank you, Steve. That's a really good insight into the Championship. I know that next time we have someone talking about the Championship on the show, we'll tell them, well, look, Steve Morison says otherwise. Mate. There you go. Okay, well, let's talk about the Premier League, shall we? And another dramatic weekend in the league saw no fewer than 32 goals, 12 of which came on Sunday, as North London won the battle of the bragging rights over Merseyside in emphatic fashion. Arsenal battered Everton 5-2 at Goodison, while their best mate Spurs defeated Liverpool by the same margin, 4-1 at Wembley. Everton's humiliating defeat was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for the hierarchy, and Koeman was promptly sacked on Monday, which is a shame because Fran Alonso is actually a good friend of the show, and he's Koeman's assistant, or was Koeman's assistant. So I really hope he finds work in the very, very near future. This actually leads us nicely onto our biteback question, which is, Have Everton made the right decision sacking Koeman, or have they pulled the trigger too soon? We had a lot of responses on our Facebook group page. I'm just going to go through them as quick as I possibly can. Ben Burnell says, I always say give a manager until at least Christmas, but the transfer activity was poor. They lose Lukaku and don't replace him. They go out to sign they sign 3 number 10s. He's got a very good point there. Dan DeLuca from Sofa Sports News says, best for all parties. Koeman will recover. Too good not to. But the situation is untenable there. Squad is appalling, and the points they've lost, they've scraped. Someone needs to grind them through it, and Koeman is not that man, even though I rate him highly. Now, Jay says the number half-time subs, his failure to let Sigurdsson, his top target, record signing, play in his favoured position, strange team choices, and a lack of playing style and direction all point to him having to walk. Simon Alavi, again from Sofa Sports News, says Lukaku was as big for them as Sanchez was. Well, I think he meant Suarez, actually, for Liverpool. If their richer neighbours couldn't replace him, how can you expect Everton to do without adequate time? Now, Alexis, who's a very, very big Arsenal fan and the fan of Koeman, says, shows sometimes money is not the answer. He had less at Southampton, and the team, when he left, was 10 times the team he had at Everton. Because he spent so much money on so many players, he felt he had to fit them in somehow. Team was majorly unbalanced, and he looked lost in his own mistakes, or too stubborn to find a different way. He had to go. Huminder says, I agree with what Ben has said. He should have been given until Christmas. I think they put all the eggs in one basket trying to sign Giroud from Arsenal, who decided to stay until the end. Also, why sign Sigurdsson and not play him in his best position? Marco Lima, our friend in Brazil, says, wow, this is a long one, Marco. I'm going to try and narrow this one down. He says, sometimes I feel there should be a rule that regardless of any mutual understanding and barring a health or family-related issue, no managerial contract can be terminated mid-season at any point. In order to successfully assess a manager's work, you need to have the very least a comparable body of work and results upon which to make an assessment. Yes, Everton came, 7th last season? But too much has changed since then, both within the club and within rival clubs. It's a different competition each season, and the playground rules in inverted commas change. This isn't to say he is without blame, but being realistic about it, football leagues have never been about single competitions. I'll tell you what, he goes on to say a lot more, and you can see that on our Facebook site. And I'm going to read Pascal Jimbonda's one. He says, I don't think it's harsh. Koeman talks much about his own ambitions using his present club as a stepping stone. He says he would leave at the end of his contract, so this is not a man who was committed to building something. The club invested lots of money and were willing to sacrifice their golden boy, Barkley, for free. If he wasn't planning on staying beyond another year, don't waste any more time and money. He made a pig's meal out of the signings. So many midfielders, it seems like he bought the same player 5 times. It goes down to personality. His arrogance has probably cost him, as it seems everyone from the fans to players have had enough. Steve, what do you make of Koeman's sacking, and do you agree with the majority of the group page?
You never like to see a manager get sacked, especially so because it is still so early in the season. But I think you have to agree that you can't work out why he signed Sigurdsson, Rooney, Klassen. They've already got Barkley there. It's just strange. You look at it. To our time, Calvert-Lewin's a good young talent, but he's not ready to be playing week in, week out for a top 7 team up front. And I just don't. As I said, I'm a bit missed by why they haven't signed a number 9. And you can say, oh, he did try but couldn't. But I think he spent a lot of money in other areas, and somehow he hasn't managed to improve the team. And Lukaku's a massive miss. And maybe he thought he would bring goals from other areas to kind of cover that void. But for me, I just don't see a team out there. I see Pickford making save after save after save, week in, week out. I see Rooney scoring goals, trying hard, and I think he's been a good signing for him. But I just don't see a team. I see lots of players wanting to all play in the same position, want to do the same thing. And I just don't see a team. I don't see a team that wants to win for their manager or are good enough to win for their manager. And I think if you haven't got a team, I think that has to come down to the manager, and he's the one who needs to instill that team mentality and that togetherness. And I don't think he's done that.
What do you think?
He had to go.
Just like that?
Yeah, it's a ruthless business now. It's all about results, and the fact that you spend a lot of money to try and recruit the Lukaku money, and he didn't spend the Lukaku money well. I mean, he tried, was it Sandro Ramirez from Malaga, and that's not worked out. Rooney's not that type of striker like Lukaku is, and even his signings like Sigurdsson and Klaassen haven't worked out. I guess everyone needs time, and a lot of the arguments might be that maybe his team needed a little bit more time to bed into his ideas, and I can understand that. But a club like Everton, being 18th in the Premiership and not doing anything in the Europa League as well, and struggling in the Premiership, there was only one outcome in the end.
The thing is, from my perspective, I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I mean, when you look at the bigger picture, okay, we can take Lukaku out of the equation, and it's easy to say, he's the main reason. It's easy to say, but it's probably the truth, because when you take out that many goals, how can you replace them? It's very difficult. And with a team like Everton, with the greatest respect, they're not a Man United or a Man City that can attract these huge names, these stellar players. But then when you look at the whole team in general, let's just break it down a bit. Look at his tactics. He will either play a 4-2-3-1, or maybe or go 3-5-2, or 3-4-2-1. He's always going to have a one man up top for the majority of the time anyway. To play that position, and Steve, maybe you disagree with me on this one, but to be that one man up top, you can't have a low center of gravity. You can't be nimble. You got to be big, strong, physical, and mobile. That's the way I see it. You've seen the past.
It's a difficult one because you say that and look at Man City. Their one up top is Jesus or Aguero. Both small, but they play a brand of football which allows them to have that kind of striker. For me, I think people don't understand the importance of having a team ethic and a team together. Like, you've got 11 players, 11v11, right? So regardless of who's out there, you still have to want to win. You still have to want to win for your manager. You still have to want to win for your teammates, and you just don't see it. Yeah, I know the guy got sent off at the weekend, and up until that point, they was in the game, to be fair, but they just crumbled. After that, they just crumbled. They just went away, and they crumbled. And for me, as soon as you see that happen, you've got to start questioning the team mentality. And I don't know. I just don't. I said that you watch them talk about it on Match of the Day and stuff like that. Like, what is their game plan? And I think it's a case of, I don't like to say they've lost the dressing room, because I think that's a load of rubbish that's saying. But I just think that he kind of knew the writing was on the wall. And as you said, he signed a load of players that are exactly the same, and he hasn't replaced Lukaku. But I don't know. I just don't see where they was ever going to go. I just think week after week they might pick up a result every now and then. But I just think it was a downward spiral, and they needed to. I think they needed to change, and hopefully someone can come in and give them a bit of fresh impetus and give them a new way of playing. Because man for man, they're not as good as other teams just to go out there and just play. They need a set game plan.
I mean, no doubt there's going to be a new manager bounce, but when you look at that squad, okay, fair enough. I know Koeman has had that pretty serious injury. They haven't really filled that void, have they? Leighton Baines is another year old, and as good as Leighton Baines has been for Everton, he can't go on forever. He's a fullback. He can't keep marauding up and down that flank. How old is he now? 31, 32? I mean, listen, I know that players are much fitter these days, but it's the Premier League, and it's the physicality, the demands. And again, he's done very well for Everton. He's been a fantastic servant for him. But it seems that when he's not, creating opportunities, Everton aren't getting goals. As Pascal said, Barkley, another player that is Everton born and bred, but he wants out. So what does that tell you about?
Even Mirallas as well.
Yeah, he shunned him, hasn't he?
Yeah, completely.
He was quite reliable for them.
Even someone like Nias, to be fair. Last year didn't have a squad number. He didn't want to know. He's like, he's not going to play for me. And then this year, all of a sudden, he's back in the fold, which again shows.
But even then, he won't play him. He's given him substitute appearances, but he's got to be their top goal scorer.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. But it just shows probably how desperate.
Just play him up front.
Yep.
And he's got the other players. Someone's going to have to be left out. That's football.
Yep.
He doesn't have to play Rooney, Sigurdsson every week, and Klaassen or whatever. Just play. I think he's thought to himself, do you know what? I've spent this on these players, and all of these players have to play. And yeah, I just don't. As you said, he had half the budget he had at Southampton. Yeah, but I think if you looked at the Southampton team back then, I think he had a much better team.
Is it a bit unfair to lay into him in the sense that, you know, they played City, they played United, they played Spurs, who else they played? Arsenal.
Against City.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, away from home. Yeah,
they drew 1-0. That's right.
That's right. So perhaps if do you think he'd still be in a job if the I don't know, if the fixture list was, I don't know, nicer to him?
I think he would have been out of it quicker if he hadn't have had this much success, because I think the teams he's had, effectively, you're expected to lose those games.
Yeah.
But I think it's the manner. It's the manner of the losses, and I think the European games haven't helped him at all, because they've gone out there and they've lost poorly, and I think the way it all kicked off in Lyon the other night, I think that just showed pure frustration from everyone.
I agree. So yeah, who do you think is going to replace him then? Anyone in mind? You reckon?
Mancini.
I think Sean Dyche is in the running.
Sean Dyche, yeah. I was about to say that. I know Mancini's doing very well in St. Petersburg at the moment, they're top of the league.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd want to leave, but there's another guy that they mentioned who. No, there's another guy. I'm not going to say his name.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah. Is it the ex-Dortmund manager?
No. He used to play for United. Yeah. Not going to say his name. So yeah, they've been talking about him. I don't see what that would.
How,
yeah. I agree.
I don't know how that would benefit.
I think Sean Dyche, for him, as well as he's done at Burnley, I think there's only so far you can take Burnley, because I think the club and the stadium, etc., only allows you to go so far. But you can see what he's done there with basically a team ethic. It's all about the team. It's all about working for the team. And if that's something that the Everton hierarchy feel like they're missing in the Premier League, there's only one guy who has proved that he can do it year on year, and that's him. And I think for a fit, it'd be absolutely perfect. And I said there's players that he knows as well, like Keane and stuff like that. And I'm sure we'll be able to attract some players that he's worked with as well. So I think it's a really good fit.
It definitely brings some fire back into that team, though, won't he? Sean Dyche doesn't.
Yeah,
definitely.
You know, he's actually tactically better than what people give him credit for.
I quite like him. He's got a lot of passion and he sets his teams out really well. I mean, he's at Burnley, for goodness sake, and the job that he does, I think he's a good manager. I think he deserves the opportunity as well.
It's not by accident they do what they do week in, week out.
Correct.
It might not be pretty on the eye or whatever people want to call it, but football is, as we've said already, is a result within this.
Yep.
And he gets results, with a team effectively should be in the bottom 3, bottom 4 of the Premier League, going on crowds and stands and budget, etc. But every year he achieves more than what he should, and it ain't by accident.
Not at all. Exactly.
I agree. 100%.
You know, the signings that he's made this summer. I mean, they lost Michael Keane, and it's almost as if, you know, they haven't missed him at all. You know,
look at Chris Wood as well.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Took a chance of playing the Championship, spent a bit of money on him, and he's done well for him. And he just shows.
Yeah.
You know.
Jonathan Waters as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's injured at the moment. I know,
well, so. You know, it's very shrewd signing.
Business.
There you go. Well, let's continue with Everton. I know they were like a deer in headlights for most of the game against Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal didn't look like losing even when they went a goal behind, did they?
I don't know.
Go on.
Arsenal are not the team that they used to be either, to be fair. So this was one of them kind of silly games to start off with. Everton a goal up with Rooney again against Arsenal. How many goals has he scored in his career against Arsenal?
He'll score against Arsenal at his funeral, won't he?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, I've lost count how many times he scored against Arsenal. But like Steve was saying, Everton were in the game for most of the game. Arsenal, had the better quality and had the chances, and topsy-turvy game a little bit for me. But once Arsenal got themselves in front, and then with Everton's kind of confidence being shattered, there was only one winner after, and the sending off as well just killed the contest, to be fair, after that.
That's right. Well, Steve, I mean, we've spoken obviously about how the loss of Lukaku has affected Everton at great length, but they've been a mess tactically and technically this season. So we know this now. The players can't hide behind Koeman's failings anymore, can they? It's put up or shut up. No,
obviously it'll be interesting. I said what normally happens when a new manager comes in, you know what I mean? If I was a betting man, I'd be betting on Everton to win if they had a new manager by the weekend, because 9 times out of 10, you win your first game in charge of your new manager because everyone tries a little bit harder, which is always disappointing to actually see, because it makes you think, like, you find your manager under the bus there a little bit. But no, obviously it's going to be interesting. See who comes out. I think Unsworth's in charge, isn't he, for the weekend? That's right, yeah. So they brought an old boy back in who knows the club, and I presume he'll be trying to get a positive result of the weekend. So yeah, as I said, I don't think it's right there. I just think it's a little bit uneasy at the football club, and as I said, the manager's taken the brunt of that. He's now gone. So as you said, it's time to shut up now, and we'll have to see what kind of performance they're putting at the weekend.
Well, apparently, still the talk at Everton is that they want Unsworth to become the manager.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently, the players want him as a new manager. So
okay,
that'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah. Well, let's hope that if he does get the job, he'll do well, because we saw what happened with Craig Shakespeare at Everton. Leicester. Sorry, they wanted him. He came in. He did a job for half a season, and he had half of this season. Now he's gone. So didn't even get a year, did he?
No, not really.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Steve, Arsenal, they didn't seem to break a sweat, and Ozil was in top form. A lot of people are saying that he's been putting himself in the shop window because of this game. Like a lot of skeptics. Do you agree with them?
Personally, I'm not having Ozil. I don't. I watch a lot of football. I watch. I've been lucky to see Arsenal a couple of times when they've been at Wembley, and I just don't see it. I see a very good technical player with bags and bags of quality, but I don't see a player who works for his team or who works hard. I see him as a bit of a luxury player, and he's good in a team like Arsenal at times, but when they're under the cosh, like they have been at times, he always seems to be the scapegoat, and I think rightly so, because he's the one who doesn't put the shift in, he doesn't run around. I said, like Sanchez, you can't argue with his work rate, you can't argue with the other side of the game that he does. But do you know what I mean? I think Ozil scored a good goal. I think it's a very good header. People don't give him the credit for the header at the weekend, but the ball from Sanchez, and I don't know. I'm just not. Me personally, he's not for me. I'm not a massive fan of his, but he had a good performance on Saturday. But I think the majority of the Arsenal team did once Everton went down to 10 men, because one team you don't want to give time and space to is Arsenal.
Smell blood, didn't they?
Yep.
And mate, another manager who's feeling a bit of pressure is Jurgen Klopp. He told the press pack at full time, "Whatever you say about us today in a negative way, you are right." Now, were you surprised with how Liverpool folded on Sunday?
No.
Okay. But you were saying that Liverpool play their best football against the big clubs.
Yeah, but defensively they're a shambles.
Right.
I'm sorry. If you attack Liverpool, we said this last week about United and Liverpool. If you stop the front three, Liverpool get about every single position filling, and that's what Tottenham went. They went for the kill. They, Lovren and Matip at the back. For me, I don't understand. Listen, how can I say this? I'm not one for people putting pressure on managers, but it seems Klopp every week seems to get away with whatever he's doing. If they lose 5-0, it's not Klopp's fault. If they lose 4-1, it's not Klopp's fault. Whose fault is it then? If you're a Liverpool fan, it comes down to the manager. How can you not address the defensive frailties at Liverpool and not be your fault? Are you trying to say to me that Van Dijk was the only defender available in the summer for Liverpool to go and buy? So once they knew they couldn't buy him, there was nobody out there for Liverpool to sign a centre-half?
I think Liverpool have spent £12 million on defenders in the past 4 seasons. I think that's what I read somewhere today.
But they're going to buy Chamberlain because they really needed another left-sided or midfield player where they've got about 50 in there. Something's not right there at Liverpool for me. That's my personal opinion, and I think it is feeling the pressure. And I think the Liverpool fans soon will start turning on him. I really do.
Some of them already are, mate. Believe it or not.
There you go.
Believe it or not. There you go. Well, Steve, nice and easy question for you, mate. How'd you stop Harry Kane?
Defend better. Harry Kane I've been lucky to play with him, and I've seen him firsthand, and the one thing he can do is put the ball in the back of the net. added so much more to his game since I've played with him, and he's one heck of a player now. But I think what we need to realise is he's playing in a very, very good Spurs team as well, who give him the opportunity to score the goals he does. Saturday, you take that away because the defending from Liverpool was shambolic. Lovren for the first, but also Mignolet, like just down your line. Like for him to score from there is still one heck of a goal. He might do it, but you've got a better chance of saving it. The second one, there's just no excuse for what Lovren did, and obviously he picked out a great pass for Son. And obviously his next goal came from obviously a bit of a pinball in the penalty box. So no, the guy's fantastic in a minute, and when you're at that level that he's going to be at now for the rest of his career, you're going to see him score 30 plus goals a season because there's links to him going Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? The amount of chances he gets for Spurs, imagine how many he'll get for Real Madrid week in, week out. And he'd be up there scoring 40, 50 a season because the amount of chances you get if you're an out-and-out goal scorer, which say Ronaldo is now, he's going to score bundles of goals, and you can't stop that quality if you're going to give that quality time and space, and the team he plays in give him those opportunities, and he's just at a minute he's on fire. And it's a joy to watch as a forward, to watch him sticking the ball in the net week in, week out. But I think if you're Liverpool from the weekend, for example, you're thinking to yourself, watching that back Monday morning, thinking we could have stopped all of them goals. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. You know, the one thing I admire most about Harry Kane is not his ability, it's not his goal scoring, it's his attitude. He reminds you of how Paul Scholes used to be, in the sense that, you know, he doesn't like being in front of the cameras all the time, kind of thing. He just goes in, gets the job done, and leaves. You don't hear about him, messing about. You don't hear about him in trouble, like in nightclubs. Nothing. He's a family guy, and that's to be honest, it's actually a breath of fresh air when you see like people like Dele Alli and Jesse Lingard and all these other guys dabbing on the TV and all that kind of stuff. It's refreshing to see, to be fair. Maybe it's just me being old fashioned. I don't know.
No, 100%, 100% right, and that's why he will. Like, for me, you look at Ronaldo, you look at Messi. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they've got massive social profile. They're huge, right? Every single company in the world wants them associated with their company, with their brand. But they don't put themselves in the limelight apart from what they do on the football pitch.
That's right.
But you don't see them out and about getting, as you said, don't see them getting out. But I know you've got the tax stuff and all that kind of stuff that's come out, but they haven't put themselves in that situation to get attention. That's something that's been put on them, by the people they're surrounded by. But you don't see them, as you said, don't see them out and about and getting in trouble and doing bad things. Yeah, you might see them at events, like you see Harry Kane at events, which is where they should be because they're getting recognised for what they've done, for what they've achieved. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see when I pick up a paper or read something on the internet. I want to see them at events and at places. I hate picking up a paper on a Sunday morning and seeing a scandal, because I think to myself, do you know what I mean? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not doing it right. Look at the best. What are the best doing? And I think Harry Kane, it's not a case of is he going to get there. It's just a case of how soon he gets there.
Absolutely. Well, Chelsea's 4-2 win over an impressive Watford side keeps them 4th place on goal difference, 9 points behind Man City, who thumped Burnley 3-0. Now, result of the weekend goes to Huddersfield Town after turning over Manchester United 2-1. Mate, what can you say about United's performance without swearing, of course?
Oh, damn.
Is that a cuss word? I don't know.
Gutless, spineless, embarrassing, pathetic. I can go on all night, to be honest.
Don't.
Yeah, I'm not. You can't go away to Huddersfield with an attitude like that. I mean, before the game starts, you know it's going to be a passionate crowd. They haven't played United for how many years? The players are going to be up for it. Everyone's going to be up for it. It's going to be a battle. It's like what my coach used to say to me on a Sunday: win the battle and then you win the game. But United didn't win the battle. every single 50-50. Huddersfield, every decision went to Huddersfield. Huddersfield wanted it more. United looked like, oh, yeah, we'll just turn up and win the game. And you can't do that at any level, let alone the Premiership, you know? Yeah, United made 2 horrendous mistakes that led to the goals, but it's part of football. Mistakes are going to be there. And I think what upset me most was probably the second half. The fact that, yeah, it was a slightly better United performance, but it wasn't the United of old where attack. They looked like they were going to get an equaliser. I didn't even think United were going to score the whole game, to be honest. That's how poor United were on the day. And, you know, you asked me this question about United's performances over the last weeks, and you've asked me if I was worried. I said, no, I'm worried now. Because I'm starting to see a pattern on the last 3-4 games where the foot was no good, the attacking play is no good, and it might be a habit of producing these performances. Yeah, United won 2-0 away at Swansea tonight, but they made 8 changes. But it's worrying a little bit now, especially the performances.
Put it this way, I think if you cast your mind back to last week when we spoke about Troy Deeney, what he said about Arsenal. Yeah, you know, he saw Mertesacker, gave him a kick, and take it from there. Right, first 5 minutes, Anthony Martial gets a kick from a Huddersfield defender.
It didn't go back the whole game, did it?
What he did a little limp, then he kicked out at him, which was lucky to stay on the pitch.
Yeah,
and then, as you said, didn't hear a peep out of him. You know, Herrera came out and he said to the media that United lacking passion and aggression, and it didn't please Mourinho one bit. I mean, I can understand Mourinho's frustration, because if Herrera is saying it, what about the rest of the team? What are they thinking?
Yeah.
It was let's be honest, it was a garbage performance in United, and they should be doing a lot better. Let's not take anything away from Huddersfield, though, because they were well worth the win.
Absolutely.
I think they defended very well. They hit United on the counter attack. In fact, they played the system that United tried to play against Liverpool, and it worked. But the difference is United made defensive mistakes and Liverpool didn't. There you go. Steve, I know Chelsea bounced back from their shock defeat against Palace with a very heartfelt victory against Watford. I know they were wasteful in front of goal. Did Conte's men get away with it?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they started very, very well in the game. I watched the game. They started well. They got their goal out of nothing. Absolute welding. And yeah, there was opportunities for Watford, and they nicked one just before the half time. And yeah, I think sometimes in a game of football, that next goal that Watford got, it was the kick up the backside that kind of Chelsea needed. And I think you saw their performance step up, and then they done well. And I think Morata didn't have the best of games, but it was nice to see Batshuayi come on, because he was actually getting a bit of stick when he came on. I think he gave the ball away a couple of times and got a bit of stick, and then he goes and scores a great header. Yeah, I think it was nice, because I think it definitely looked like there was some kind of unrest in the camp, the way Conte had been celebrating goals and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they come back with a result like that, and you saw everything change. The whole demeanour in the stadium changed. You saw Conte in the crowd celebrating the goal. So yeah, Watford have been very, very good. They've got a style of play which has been working for them. They've been playing very, very well. They've got some great results, but it was nice to see Chelsea react to going 2-1 down, because I think if they had lost that game in the manner that they did, in the manner that they was, I think people would have been asking some serious questions. But coming back and winning the game like they did was nice to see.
That's right. And what do you make of Watford this season, Steve? Have they impressed you?
Yeah, they've been good. We played them in behind closed doors friendly, and the size of their squad and the ability that they've got is frightening. And we was 2-0 up in the game, and I think we lost 4-2 in the end. But yeah, no, they've done very, very well. I think he's made some very, very good signings. I like the manager a lot. I think you can see how he's been so successful elsewhere, and yeah, they won't be too disheartened with the result at the weekend. I think they've been very, very good. I think they'll dust themselves down, and I think they've got a very, very good manager and got a very, very good squad. So it'll be interesting to see if they can break into that top 8 this year.
Going back to what Steve said about Marco Silva, if he didn't join Watford at the start of the season, he would have been one of the names in the hat for Everton, 100% for me.
Yeah. He did very well holding him.
Very well. Good manager.
There you go. Right. De Boer, Koeman and Shakespeare could be joined by Slaven Bilic and Mark Hughes soon, after both West Ham and Stoke suffered embarrassing defeats. Now, Steve, if you just take your Millwall hat off for just a moment, mate, where do you think it's gone wrong for West Ham? I mean, let's be honest. Surely this new stadium hasn't been that much of a factor.
It's a difficult one. The stadium, obviously, was massive for them. Big move. It's a great move, like in terms of revenue, etc. But I don't know. I'm not one for it. I don't think you can still a grass pitch with 2 white goals and white lines around it. So I don't think that's the issue. I just don't see a football team. I just don't see a team that want to. I just don't know. I just see a lack of everything. Everything you'd want from a team, a solid Premier League team. You just don't see it. I just see individuals. I just see a bad team. I just don't see a team that they don't fill you with. I don't think you ever think they're going to win at the weekend. If they do, it's kind of like a bit of a shock. Yeah, I don't know. I think something has to change, and it seems like they're going to stick with the manager to the end of the season, like they keep saying. But yeah, I suppose everyone will hide behind the stadium until they start winning games of football.
I think they're in the Everton mode.
Yeah,
exactly.
Downing tools. Yeah,
yeah. So and even Bilic's signings, exactly like Koeman's, they haven't worked out. Hernandez has not been as good as what I guess he should have been. Arnautovic has been a disaster. You know, I quite like Arnautovic. I think he's got a little bit about him. He's got a little bit of ability. All right, he's got a little. So on his day, yeah, and that's right. And West Ham ain't even seen that day yet, have they? No. To be fair, I mean, he got sent off in his first game. There's something not right at West Ham either. And you know, we touched on this. I think the owners with Bilic, I think he's one more result away of going. I think he's next Bilic.
Yeah, they've got Palace at the weekend, so
that's a massive game.
That could be it. That could be it, mate. I think so. So yeah, Stoke are struggling right now as well. They got battered at Man City, which is no embarrassment, even though they let in 7. But losing to Bournemouth at home with little fight. Come on now, Hughes has got to be in trouble.
Are they playing Man United soon? Because he might get a result.
They drew 2.
Yeah. You know, I think he is in trouble.
Another one that spent money.
Another one that spent money as well. They just seem to not move, Stoke, do they? They're just sitting at 10th, 11th.
They're down at the bottom now,
aren't they? Yeah, but as in generally like 10th, 11th, mid-table, and they don't seem to like go anywhere. It's just like they're still. I suppose for Stoke, it might be a good season finishing 10th, 11th. I just don't see any improvement at all. Even he signed, Triple Martin's come in, and you know, he did well against United. He's gone missing ever since then. What have they done since that United result? Absolutely nothing. So he's in trouble. He's probably 1 or 2 results away of getting the chop. That's how the business is at the moment now. It's the Premiership with the money and everything. It's so demanding that you can't afford to go into a bad run because chairmans panic. The fans start panicking. They start getting on the players' backs. I think even at the weekend, they're booing every decision. That's where you know that maybe time's up. And Hughes is in trouble, big time.
That's right. That's right.
I think you've got to ask the thing is, for me, who are these teams going to bring in? Who are they going to bring in? What managers are they going to bring in? So Everton possibly going to bring in like a Dyche or someone from within. And then you look at West Ham, you look at Stoke, and you think, who's going to come in and make them better?
Sam Allardyce.
I wouldn't be.
Are they going to make West Ham better? Are they going to make Stoke better? Or are they just going to make them defensively better? Or what? Is it still the same players? You can't do anything. With the way the football's changed now, you can't do anything till January. Then after that, you can't do anything to the end of the season. So
it depends on the style, Steve, as well. It depends on what kind of manager they're looking to bring in, what kind of style they want to play. I mean,
Stoke got rid of Pulis because they didn't want the style.
That's right.
They wanted
somebody more expensive,
change the style, which they have done. Apparently, going to watch Stoke now is not what it used to be.
Yeah,
but they have one result against Man United, and then they've had poor results. West Ham, they have a good result, and then they have 4 or 5 poor results. And then they have the one good result, and they have 4 or 5 poor results. It's just, you go and get a manager, go and get Sam Allardyce, go and get Mancini, go and get whoever you want to get, and put them into West Ham tomorrow. And West Ham going to be any better?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Again, it comes down to confidence of the players as well. Sometimes you need the lift as a football player, or as a human being in general. Maybe somebody coming in, you know, putting your arm around the player and going, listen, you're better than what you're producing. I want you to go and show everybody how good you are.
Yeah. Sometimes
that lift, that new face, that new presence in the dressing room can lift players.
Yeah.
I just think it's dire at West Ham, and I don't think it's as bad as at Stoke, but at West Ham definitely they need a change there, 100%. I think the players have stopped playing for Bilic.
Yeah, I think they're gonna look at bringing someone experienced. I don't think they're gonna. Let's be honest. I mean, Bilic managed at international level for a while, didn't he?
Yeah.
What did he do much at club level? I'm not too.
He was at Besiktas, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, he was at Besiktas.
Yeah. So I mean, he had the Champions League experience. But then again, you look at people like, I don't know, Jaap Stam. He's a possibility. He's done relatively well at Reading. I know Uwe Rosler is doing all right at Fleetwood at the moment. But are they going to look into managers like these guys? I really don't know. I really don't know. It'll be a very interesting one, to say the least. Gus Poyet might even be in the frame. You never know. Then his son used to play for West Ham. Diego
Poyet, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, in other news, Sami Khedira was the unlikely hero for Juve, scoring a hat-trick in their 6-2 win at Udinese. Meanwhile, in Ligue 1, Neymar was sent off in PSG's 2-2 draw against Marseille. Now, incidentally, Edinson Cavani scored a 93rd minute free kick to level it up. So, Khedira, he's gone under the radar a bit since leaving Real Madrid for Juve. Is he one of the most underrated midfielders in the game?
I think so. I think he's a good player, Khedira. I think everywhere he's gone, he's done a good job. He's not like the marquee name or the marquee signing, but it doesn't affect his job everywhere he goes. And for a player who's predominantly a defensive midfield player, he scores goals. I mean, he scored 3 goals with Juve had 10 men on Saturday, so shows his ability. And I think he's a cracker little. Well, he's not a little player, but he's a.
You can talk.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez,
talking about myself. Yeah. But no, he's definitely underrated and definitely does a good job. He sits in front of that back four, and he can play as well. He can pass the ball. He's a good passer of the ball, and his distribution's good. So no, I rate Khedira. I think he's a good player.
Steve, we saw a few weeks ago Cavani and Neymar fighting over who was going to take a penalty. Do you think they're going to fight over take free kicks next?
I don't know. I think it's all a bit pathetic, isn't it? At times, I think it's look, Neymar's gone there to be the most expensive player in the world, and I think he's been in the shadows of Messi for a long time at Barcelona, and he's trying to stamp his authority on the PSG. And yeah, obviously getting sent off at the weekend, and then Cavani stepping up and scoring a free kick will maybe cause a little bit more of a rift in the dressing room. But that's down to the manager to sort out. He's got some fantastic talent there. He's got some big players, and yeah, he needs to find some kind of cohesion between the lot, because so let's get it right. They're in a league which they're going to romp. They're going to score bags of goals week in, week out. So yeah, obviously they need to find some kind of middle ground somewhere. And I don't know, maybe if Neymar gets free kicks, Cavani gets the penalties or something. I don't know, but yeah, no, obviously it's a game they should have been winning, and obviously they'll be disappointed they haven't. And Neymar getting sent off is frustrating, but so they've got so many good players. Having someone like Cavani step up and put a free kick in the 93rd minute just shows how good they are.
Steve, would you fight Gregory for a penalty?
I wouldn't fight him. I mean, Greg's is the penalty taker. He missed one last week, and I'll always step up and take a penalty, and I will ask if we get a penalty on Saturday and I'm on the field, he is, then I will ask him, do you want it? And if he says, yeah, he's confident he wants it, then I'm happy to back it. If he doesn't, then I'll take it. So
does that come from?
I'd never have an argument over it.
Does that come from Neil Harris though, Steve? Like before you go out onto the pitch, is Gregory like your main man for pens, and then, or do you kind of sort it out on the pitch yourselves?
No, it comes from the manager lets us deal with it. He kind of. I remember when I played with Neil, he was the penalty taker, and all of a sudden, one game, we got a penalty. He got the ball, and I remember I think he missed a penalty the week before, and he picked the ball up. I walked towards him and said, "You having it?" And he went, "No, you have it." And he gave me the ball, and I took the penalty, and I ended up being the penalty taker for the next season and a half.
Right.
Greg's been here. When he's not been on the pitch, I've taken the penalties. When I've not been on the pitch and he's not been on the pitch, Sean Williams has taken penalties. But obviously, it's just how you feel in the game. If someone, if Greg's having a shocker of a game and he gets a penalty, then I'll say to him, look, do you think I should have it, or do you think someone else should have it? But no, we just sort it out. You know what I mean? We're grown up enough to sort that out. I'd never go, give me the ball, you're not having it. I think, and have an argument. I think you need to be more grown up than that. And as I said, I think the Neymar Cavani situation, considering it's in such a worldwide stage, is pretty pathetic.
Yes, I agree. Well, former AC Milan players Kaka Kaladze and George Weah have taken a leaf out of Silvio Berlusconi's book and gone the political route. No, not the Banga Banga parties. Kaladze has been elected mayor of Georgia's capital, Tbilisi, while Weah is running for president of Liberia. Steve, you're a Millwall legend, mate. Any plans to go for the mayor of London job at any point, or at least head of Southwark Council? What's your opinion on ex-players going to politics?
It's too corrupt, all that world, isn't it? It's not what you know, it's who you know. No, it's not my cup of tea. I'll stick to being involved in football by hook or by crook. It's the thing I love, and it's the thing that I know best. So yeah, I think I'll steer clear of that. I'll leave George Weah and that kind of.
Well, you know what? To be honest, I'm not going to name any names or name any local authorities, but one of them is actually paying 100 grand more than what the Prime Minister's on a yearly basis.
Really?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Crazy. Yeah, head of that council is getting 250 odd grand a year. Yeah, which is more than what what's her name is. Thatcher V2, allegedly. Finally, let's end this one on a funny note, I guess. Giovanni Liberti of non-league side Turis in Italy has been banned for 5 matches for, and I quote, the Serie D disciplinary body, urinating in the direction of away supporters and making obscene and vulgar gestures while showing his genital organ. Now, another Serie D player was banned for 5 matches, same hearing, for kicking, punching and slapping the opposing team's masseur. What do you make of that, Steve? I'm sure you've seen things in the past, but nothing like that.
No, I think sometimes you think you've heard it all. and then you hear things like that. You think to yourself, look, seriously, what kind of animal does something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to be some kind of person to be doing something like that. And yeah, hopefully I never get to actually see it in my lifetime on a football pitch. But no, I'm not surprised it's happened in Serie, whatever it is in Italy, because I think they're crazy cats.
But let's be honest, I doubt that this player would ever do that at the Den, would he?
No, I don't think he'd be allowed. I think the fans will have him in with them very quickly.
Well, set Danny Baker onto him, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you? You played in Cyprus, the Neanderthals out there. We can say that because we're from out there. It's okay. People don't get offended. Yeah, they can.
I've seen gestures of provocation. I haven't seen anyone urinate at fans, to be honest. I'm always someone like, come on then, to try and give it and then start a riot. But I'll tell you what I did see, but I don't know, probably most people did. It's totally irrelevant. Did you see the Thailand penalty shootout?
Yeah, the geezer where he hit the bar and all the way back in.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
That's incredible. He's what was it, 19, 20 at the time?
Something
or
like that,
19, 18 or something?
The best thing about it was how devastated the goalie was.
Yeah. That's right.
And his team lost.
I mean, can you imagine that?
He's hit the bar, he's gone and celebrated.
You've struck a penalty, it's hit the bar, it's come out, the goalkeeper's gone to celebrate, and then he's just standing minding his own business, he just rolls in.
Brilliant.
The trajectory of that ball. Bet it wasn't one of those Adidas balls or the new Nike balls. Yeah. Right, well that's us for this edition. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd just like to say a big thanks to Steve for agreeing to come on the show. Really appreciate your time, mate.
No worries.
Are you on any form of social media or any way?
No, only LinkedIn. Well, obviously I spoke to you.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Well, if you guys want to get in touch with Steve, I advise you to get a professional LinkedIn profile because he's not going to message just anyone. And yeah, connect with him because, as you can tell, Steve is a very eloquent guy. He knows his football, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you very much, Steve.
Still scoring goals as well.
Still scoring goals, yeah. Jan, do you want to give our listeners your Twitter address?
Yannick J.
Excellent. We're at Shoot Defense. Guys, if you're still listening and you haven't pressed stop, please feel free to visit Amazon and buy Paul Stewart's book, Damage. I implore you to get this book because, you know, Steve is a very good friend of the... he's gone. Paul is a very good friend of the show. And, you know, his book is a fantastic read. He's been through a lot in the past. So, yeah, please feel free to buy the book. It's an absolute fantastic read. Steve seems to have been cut off. But, yeah, he'll be back sometime soon, I hope. And so will we. Take care.